All right, now I'm recording you all, so just mind your P's and Q's as we go. I'm Robin. I am the safari coordinator for Embark Exploration, and I understand you all are going to go climb Kilimanjaro, which is super exciting. She's an amazing mountain to climb. And then those of you who are here are obviously interested in doing some kind of post-climb safari or trip. And so I wanted to take some time today to talk about safaris in Tanzania. Lots and lots of options. There's a million different ways to do it, a million different budgets for it, incredible opportunities there. And so typically what I do is I start out with kind of talking about we have two set departures that are out there, which oftentimes makes it easy for people in a group who want to go on safari to kind of pull together and go on a trip together. And so typically what we see with our climbers is they're trying to keep their trip to 2 weeks. So they'll do the climb and then they want to do an add-on safari. So the two that I'm going to kind of review right now are our 3-day safari and then our 5-day safari. Both of these make it so that you can keep your trip to within 2 weeks. So you will, the last day of the climb itinerary is actually the day that you would start your safari. Carrie, what's their dates again? Sorry.
In the 2 through 12 March.
Okay, so you would be starting your safari on the 12th of March. And again, safari can be done a million different ways. It's all up to how people want to do them. Like I said, we offer these group safaris just in case people want to kind of come together. We also, if you are interested in me putting together a custom safari, maybe you have family who's going to come over and join you after the climb and you want to do something just with you and your family, completely happy to set that up. I don't know how many of you did. I know that Donovan sent out the recording of the podcast that was talking about safaris. How many of you guys actually listened to that? Okay, we have one winner. Okay. I'm just, too, I've been doing this for a really long time. I'm really passionate about all things Africa. Tanzania has a special place in my heart because it's the first country I went to there. I went to climb Kilimanjaro. I've since climbed Kilimanjaro a total of 5 times. And I, prior to COVID, was into Africa every 6 months. My reason for doing that is because I want to go in and see all the lodges, see all the experiences. I truly believe there is a lodge match for everyone, and it's really about knowing what do my clients want and how can I match them to it. So I'm going to start, if you don't have any questions before I get going, but I'm going to start talking about just these standard trips that we have. I'm going to start with the 3-day and I'll go over that itinerary, and then I will move to our 5-day and I'll go over that itinerary, and then any questions you have, we'll take some time to talk about those, okay? And feel free to ask questions as I'm going through this. So our 3-day itinerary is an overland trip. It's going to start out here in Moshi, which is the town that you're staying in prior to your climb and post-climb. And this green spot up here is actually Mount Kilimanjaro. So you're staying in Moshi at the base of Kilimanjaro. The first day, you will be picked up early in the morning. You will drive from Moshi out to Tarangiri National Park. And Tarangiri is this big green spot. Can you guys still see my screen and the hand on the screen? Okay. So Tarangiri National Park, it's one of the largest parks in the north of Tanzania. It's known for its large herds of elephants. It's incredible elephant territory. You will also have opportunities to see lions, as well as some leopards, as well as plains games, zebras, some wildebeests, lots of antelope, warthogs, giraffe, things like that in Tarangiri. So your first day will be spent in Tarangiri. You will drive from Moshi to Tarangiri, and then the first lodge that you would stay at that night is what is called Maraboi Tented Lodge. And Maraboi is a permanent tented lodge. It's located between Lake Menorah National Park and Tarangiri National Park, so it's just outside of the park. And it's a really lovely, what I consider moderate, great value lodge. These are some of the images of the lodge. So it is a tented camp which is built up on stilts. The camp is large. It has about 30 rooms in it. But it's lovely and there's wildlife around it. And it's a really, like I said, it's a really great value for dollar lodge. It's what we would consider to be a 3-star lodge. All of the rooms at Maraboi are en suite. So in the back of the tent, all of the rooms will have their shower, toilet, sink, running water, things like that. Okay. Then your next day. So the next day you will travel from Tarangiri out to the world famous Igorogoro crater. And the Igorogoro crater, I like to think of as wildlife viewing on steroids. So the crater itself used to be a volcano. It was taller than Kilimanjaro and it imploded in and on itself. So it is very fertile land inside the crater. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is probably the one place in Tanzania that you have the most opportunity to actually see black rhino. So that's your second day. It's a really great experience in the crater. The crater's small, so you'll spend a lot of time down in the crater. To get into the crater, it's very steep drive down and a very steep drive out. The lodge that you will stay at is outside the crater and it's called Ingorun Farmhouse. And this one's a little different than Maraboi. It's what I would consider a brick and mortar lodge. It's bigger. The rooms are lovely, and that's the view down into the crater. So as you can see, the rooms are different than what they were like at Maraboi. Maraboi being a tented camp, Igorogoro Farmhouse being brick and mortar, and it's actually on a coffee plantation. Okay, and there's a total of 48 rooms in this particular standard rooms in this particular lodge, and they have additional rooms. They have family suites and things like that. So it is a larger lodge. It's quite lovely. Both Maraboi and Igorogoro Farmhouse have swimming pools. So lots of times people love hopping in on a hot day. And then your last day of this itinerary is going to Lake Menorah. Let's see if I can pull this over. And Lake Menorah is one of the smaller parks in the northern part of Tanzania. It is known for, again, it's an alkaline lake. It has flamingos in it. It's known for its tree climbing lions. And again, it's just another really great experience, wildlife experience. The terrain of the 3 parks that you visit in this 3-day itinerary is very different. Each of the parks has their own different terrain. Tarangiri has these Dr. Seuss looking baobab trees that are in the park, and Lake Menorah, people go for the lake to see the flamingos and to see the hippos in the lake. And then the crater, it's just this incredibly lush area that has everything in it, from the rhino to elephants to zebra to 3 prides of lions. So it's really the crater's wildlife viewing on steroids. So this is your 3-day itinerary. It's pretty quick. Every day you'll be in the car driving from your lodge into the national park, do a full day out in the park doing game drives. Typically you'll have a picnic lunch with you. And so you'll stop, you'll have your picnic lunch, and then continue on about your game drives. Any questions on the 3-day? Okay, so I'm going to move to the 5-day. Can you guys still see my screen? Okay, great. So the 5-day, again, like the 3-day, it starts out in Moshi, and your first park that you go to is Tarangiri National Park, and you stay at the same lodge. You stay at Marboy Tented Lodge, exact same first day. On your second day, you actually drive out past the crater through the Igorogoro Conservation Area out to the central Serengeti. And in the central Serengeti, that you'll be staying at what we consider a Hemingway-style tented camp. This is how, when safaris first started in East Africa, this is the way people stayed. If you've read any Hemingway any of his books, he describes the camps like this. But this is a prime example of a tented camp. It's out in the middle of the Serengeti. They build out your dining rooms, fire pits with chairs around them. Each of the rooms will have an ensuite bathroom. The bathrooms are slightly different here in that, let me see if I can stop this for a second. At this particular camp in the Serengeti, you will be using what we call a bucket shower. So they will fill, there's a bucket that hangs outside of the tent above the bathroom, and they will fill it with the most amazingly perfect temperatured water that you will then shower from. And there's inside the shower is a knob that there's either knobs like a typical shower, or they have a pull down cord that you use to let the water out. And you would never even know that there wasn't plumbed water there, but it's a bucket shower. So a little more rustic than Marboy, but it is right out in the middle of the Serengeti. And the really cool thing about that is being located out in the middle of the Serengeti, the noises that you're going to hear at night are all the wildlife being active at night. So you're going to hear the lions out hunting. You're going to hear the hyenas. You're going to hear the elephants trumpeting when something is coming near them and they don't want them around. So it's a really great, incredible wild experience out in the Serengeti. So a few more pictures of what the camp looks like. And the Serengeti, if you guys don't know, is known for the Great Migration. And you will be going in March, and in March, the Great Migration will be kind of moving down towards the southern part of the Serengeti. You'll be more in central, but there'll still be vast herds up in the central area of the Serengeti. So you'll be in the Serengeti for 2 nights. And with that, it gives you the opportunity to then say, on the day that you have a whole day in the Serengeti, is you can go out early in the morning and then come back to camp for lunch, and then go back out again late in the afternoon where it cools down. Or you could choose to stay out all day with picnic lunches. It's really up to you guys. But sometimes people like to, on that one day where they have the whole day in the Serengeti, to kind of break it up a little bit. Then after your 2 nights out in the Serengeti, you'll head to the crater for the night of the 4th, and you'll stay on the rim of the crater. Now, the lodge that we use at the rim of the crater is the Igorogoro Soper Lodge. It's quite large. It's about 98 rooms. And the reason that we select it is this view. It has the phenomenal view looking out over into the crater. The other reason we select it is, in total truth, it's its location. So it sits up here on the rim, and we like to go into the crater from the back because most people go into the crater from this front route. We like going in from the back because the crater typically can be very crowded because it is a small space, and because it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, lots of people like to be in it. So by going in the back way into the crater, you have less cars, you get to see more of the crater before you actually hit the cars who are coming in on the front end. The other reason by staying on the rim is we can get up early and you can go down into the crater and be down into the crater as the sun is coming up, which is another really great experience in the crater. So that's the 4th day will be partially in the Serengeti, then you will drive through the Ngorongoro Conservation Area out to your lodge on the rim, and then your last day you actually go into the crater and then head back to the airport for your flights. Both of these itineraries, we recommend that people's flights leave after 8 p.m. because both of these, the last day is a very full day of activity. And if your flight leaves before 8 p.m., you lose out on those activities. Those last day activities get cut back. Okay. Any questions on this itinerary or on the 3-day or, safari in general? You guys can unmute yourself if you would like.
What are the like kind of during the day activities like? Just out of
So your during the day activities are literally game driving. So you will on any given day you'll be in the park, you will be looking for animals. The guides are really great at finding them. So your day is spent in the vehicle doing a safari, looking for wildlife and observing the wildlife. And that's just in these two itineraries. There are so many options to do other things on other, custom safaris that are very different. So, like if somebody were to say to me, I'd really like an active safari. There are ways to have more active safaris. Safaris typically are, pretty sedate in nature because you are in the vehicles and you are driving around to see the wildlife. So they're pretty sedate in that way. But there are ways to do add additional things or do different things like there are a few camps that you can do walking safaris in. There are a few camps where you can do some mountain biking. There are some camps where you can do some cultural things. So it just really depends. And those when we get into wanting to do those kinds of things, those get into a more custom safari. So I think what I always tell people is if the 3 or the 5-day isn't what you're looking for, talk to me about what you are looking for because, like I said, there are a million different ways to do it. And my preference these days, because I've done so many of these really quick overland safaris where you're moving every day, I like to now go to one place and stay in one place for like 4 days and really explore that one place because then that place really comes alive. But a lot of people, but I also have the opportunity that I go back to Africa all the time. So I have the opportunity to really delve into spaces. Whereas the very first time I went on safari, my safari was like the 5-day, only we made it an 8-day. We had extra nights in Tarangiri. We had extra nights in out in the Serengeti. So it really is up to you. And the one thing I do say to people is on this 3-day and on the 5-day, both of them are car intensive. And the roads in the national parks, they're dirt roads, they're quite bumpy. And if somebody were to come to me and say, I have a really bad back, I would say, there's probably a better way to do a safari for you than an overland safari.
Are there breaks to like get out and stretch your legs?
Yeah, so they'll take breaks. And like if you have to go to the bathroom, you just let the guide know. He'll stop at a place. He'll make sure that wherever he's stopping is safe. And then, you'll have a break for lunch. And the guide, he'll anytime your group wants to like stop and stretch their legs, he'll look for a place that's safe to do it. When you're in the parks, you have to just be sure that you're in a safe space because there is wildlife all around. Any other questions? You guys are a quiet group.
I have a question.
Mhm.
What's the safety like? That looks pretty scary to me, being in a tent with wildlife around and you can hear them at night. And
It's very safe. So at night, as soon as it gets dusk, you are not allowed to wander around the camp by yourself. There's always a Maasai guard there to walk you, from the tent to the main area and back.
okay,
There's always somebody around to ensure that. And the Maasai are out in the camp all night long, and they'll let you know if there's animals coming through. They'll say not safe to come walk. You're going to have to wait until they move on.
okay,
But the animals are not going to come into the tents.
okay. How hot is it there?
So it's actually Tanzania is quite mild,
Oh.
and you will be going in early March, and that is so mid-March, April, and May to early June is their big rainy season. So it's going to be very temperate. It's actually January, February, March are some of my favorite months to be in Tanzania. It's not as crowded as it is during the summer, and it's a really lovely temperature there. It won't be really hot, and at night you'll probably want to put on either a wrap or some kind of fleece because it can get cool at night, and especially up at the crater because the crater is at a higher elevation. It can be quite cool,
Okay, thank you.
but it won't be hot.
Okay, great.
It does it. Tanzania, actually, East Africa does not get hot like Southern Africa does. Any other questions? Okay. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions, then we can go ahead and end, and you guys can have a nice evening. If you have any questions later, feel free to email me. If you are looking to wanting to do something different than any of these, again, email me, and I'm happy to set up a separate time to chat to talk about different options. But other than that, if there are no any questions, then we can be done.
And I just wanted to jump in there and remind you guys that these itineraries are in your group resource link that you got when you registered. So you can go and click through there and browse it at your own kind of pace. And if you have any questions, then reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for coming, taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.